Hello, everyone, to another episode. Gigi, you guys have to join tonight. We have a very special guest tonight, Miss Kimberly. The confidence conspiracy. Are we all just faking? Right? We have heard this subject and we are talking about it tonight. So join us, tune in. I'm gonna give you some time to grab your tea. You guys know I have tea right here. Mm. So good. This is my favorite flavor. And so get yourself a cup of tea and join us in the conversation. If this is the first time you're tuning in, I'm your host, Gigi, and Confidence Tea is all about transforming your mind, edifying your soul, and activating your confidence. And I'm so excited that you guys have decided to join us tonight. And I truly believe that tea fixes everything, right? Nothing like a cup of tea to warm you up. Nothing like a cold glass of iced tea to cool you down. So join us in the conversation. We are getting ready to get started. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to grab your cup of tea and let's get this party started. I'm going to give you maybe not. If you're just joining us, let us know in the chat where you are tuning in from. Everybody, I hope you have your cup of intimate conversation about confidence. And so I am so excited. If you're joining us, please grant StreamYard permission. That way I can see your comments and we can chat. This is definitely a dialogue and not a monologue. And so I am super, super excited to introduce our guest for this evening. And so I'm going to introduce you guys to Kimberly Pack. She is the founder of Ascend Together, her business strategy and wellness practice. She's a certified trauma-informed coach with almost, get this, 2 decades of experience helping individuals and teams achieve their goals. She's worked for companies, financial, and Bush and airline. She helps her clients to cut out the noise, tap the secret sauce, and center themselves to achieve professional success in the face of challenges and adversities. They become the CEO of their lives. Kimberly, a Chicago native and a graduate of college and Harvard Gospel, a woman after my own heart. Please welcome Miss Pack to the show, guys. Give her some love. Hey, Kimberly, how are you? I can hear you good.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. I see myself now.
Okay, good. All right, let me fix myself. I'm like, all right, let me go this way. Okay, here we go. All right. So how are you doing this evening? I'm so happy you could join me tonight so we can have this conversation. This very
I'm doing
much
great.
needed.
There might be a little bit of a delay, but I'm doing great. I just got home today from being at the Harvard Black Alumni Society has an all Black reunion for all the Harvard colleges, and it was amazing. Haven't done it in 10 years, so I'm still on a high, a little tired because being out late, not sleeping, and taking 6 a.m. flights is a lot. But happy to be here.
I can imagine. Okay, I'm excited. I'm so happy that you're here and you could join us.
For sure. And I have my
So
tea.
tonight You got your tea. So tonight we're talking about this just or this of confidence, and think people have heard about this theme going around, imposter syndrome, and we're going to kind of tap into that a little bit, and we're going to just chat about that. So if you're tuning in, let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in from. That way you can join us in. I want to hear what you have to say about this conversation tonight. Oh, you, Kim.
Okay, there was
Can
some
you hear me?
delay. Okay. All right. So what we're talking about tonight is, are we all faking it? And I think there's some truth that a lot of people may be faking it. Social media really gives us this great tool and a great way to fake it till you make it. For you to say you got $1 million because you rent the runway clothes, or maybe you rented out a nice little Airbnb and you pretend like it's your home. But the truth is, that's not how we want to live. That's not how you want your audience to live, right? That's not what we want for our community. We want us to be confident and really be achieving the things that we want and the things that we're putting out in the world. We want it to be genuine and real.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think social media has really made it a lot easier to fake it, because we can put on this facade of the life that we're living, and we can and sometimes almost like the person might be living a nightmare. Don't let them like they're living this glorious, wonderful dream, and people buy it. People almost try to imitate it.
For sure. And I think some people get their feelings hurt when they're not doing their diligence, when they're just believing things that they see on the internet. We know this personally from our friends and family, so it's weird that we go into the world and think other people may not be putting on, right? And so we have to do our diligence around this. But a part of this conversation that I know we want to have is talking to our audience about not taking on this imposter syndrome too, right? Because the truth of the matter is the imposter syndrome was coined by two white women who were researchers, right? And they did this study in 1978. I want us to think about how long ago this study was. 1978, with 150 white women who were PhDs, right? And so these white women in 1978, they had been observed 5 years prior to that, had said that they felt overwhelmed. They didn't feel like they belonged in the high achieving places they were when they were tenured faculty members or had really high level jobs. They didn't feel like they were in the right place. They felt like they were a fraud. They were doubting their abilities. And the thing about that is, over that time of period, no telling who was coming for them as being women going into these environments where they weren't welcome. And think about if they would have included in the study Black women, brown women, right? If they would have started adding the women of color, we know how these environments may not treat us in the way that we've earned and the way that we've deserved. And so we need to think about how quickly we are going to put on this diagnosis of ourselves, to call ourselves imposters, when really we might not be, right? We might be in an environment that treats us bad. We might be in community with people who are, planting seeds of doubts or coming for us, right? And so I want us to, one of the things I want us to talk about is making sure that people are aware of where they are and who they're dealing with and where these feelings are coming up from, because some of this is not even about your abilities, because you might be doing a great job, but in an environment that doesn't appreciate you.
And that is so true. A lot of times, I think what it is we're looking on the outside to get somebody to say, "Oh, you're not an imposter. Oh, you're doing it right." And people aren't out, they're not willing to give you that. And so sometimes you have to earn what it is that, you have to believe in yourself first, right? And you have to be the one to know, "Hey, I've put in the time." And the crazy thing is, a lot of times we can have all the accolades in the world, all the degrees in the world, all the certifications in the world, and we're still thinking, "Oh my God, I'm an imposter." Because, I've dealt with that. I have more degrees than a thermometer, and I still be like, oh, I don't think I'm ready, or I don't think I'm, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, you have been in school for how many years now? How long? Like, when will you be ready? When will you get the opportunity to show the world that, yes, you can do this. Yes, this is you. Yes, you're walking it out, And so, I mean, it's crazy. We have to, as women, we have to get ourselves out of that mindset, out of that, and stop accepting that we're imposters, and stop, believing and giving this fuel, because we do that. We give it more fuel than it deserves.
Yeah, I think that's right. And first of all, more degrees than the thermometer. Like, I'm gonna use that. That's a good one. That's a soundbite, for sure. And so I think you're right. And I think something that you really said was this idea, and I talk about this all the time. It's an inside job, right? Because if you're sitting here and you only think you're good, or you only think you're capable when someone else tells you you are, if you're waiting for that external validation at all times for you to believe in yourself, then you're going to struggle, right? And then not because maybe you have haters or people are coming for you, but it's an inside job, right? What is it? You have to believe in yourself. It's confidence, it's self-confidence, right? It's the work that you do for yourself. And there's things to do that helps you to be confident, right? And if you've done nothing, you should not have imposter syndrome if you've done nothing. So some of us, we have imposter syndrome, haven't even tried to do the thing. I'm stepping on toes. If you haven't done anything, if you haven't gone for anything, if you're too scared and you're like, I have imposter syndrome means that you actually started accomplishing something. You went out for something and you having doubt. So we need you to start with some action. Some people let that label keep them from even starting. So I'm gonna call some people out right there.
Yeah. Call them out. Call them out. Listen, I had did a little bit of research, because I'm like a researcher, and I was like, we talking about this imposter syndrome. I want to make sure I'm good, and I know exactly, and I had, Googled it, and just, I was like dumbfounded, because I was like, oh my God, but what imposter syndrome is, it's this like phenomenon where people that are intellectual, they're professionals, they think that they are frauds. So they literally believe that their self-doubt, right? And they start having these self-doubt, their in their abilities, in their accomplishments, and they compare themselves to others despite the evidence that is there. So despite the fact that they've done the work, and they've put in the effort and all of that, but they still, their mind is just like, oh my God, I'm a fraud. So basically, they have these feelings of where they don't belong. They don't belong where they have worked hard to get to. Like, they've worked hard to get to this level, but they in turn feel like they don't belong at that level. And I just thought, that is crazy. That is so crazy. Now, granted, they say that imposter syndrome is not like enough to be like a mental health, like they haven't coined it as a mental health disorder or anything like that as of yet, because it's not like there's not enough evidence or proven, I guess, theories or facts to make sure it's an actual mental health disorder. But it's still something that they know, like, a lot of people struggle with, which I think is just just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that the women who coined it made it a syndrome, right? It made it, they coined it as almost like a diagnosis, right? And so again, like I was talking about when we first started this conversation, is, us not being too quick to diagnose ourselves with something that we may or may not have. And I think the other thing about these feelings of doubt, and being unsure, some parts of that is natural, right? If you are going after something or doing something new, you will feel butterflies. There are some natural feelings that comes from putting yourself out there that we can recognize, that we can deal with, that we don't have to make it about us and make it a problem, right? So when you do something new or you're doing something huge, before we say, I have an imposter syndrome, we can say, oh, this is what it feels like when I'm doing the podcast for the second time. This is what that feels like. Right?
Exactly.
Oh, or you take on a stretch assignment, and while you have a lot of capabilities, and that's why people gave you the stretch assignment, it's still some new parts that are going to be new. There's some parts of you that says, I really, really want to do a good job, and I hope that I do. And that is normal and natural. And so, unless you're really,
Absolutely.
really being a fraud, I really want people to be thoughtful about their feelings and making sure they frame it in a way that's appropriate and a way that's empowering.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes too we bring on these syndromes or whatever to ourselves. Like you were saying, I totally agree with what you're saying. We accept what, society says I have this. So, oh my gosh, now I have this, even though evidence shows you do not have that, because look at what you have accomplished. Look at how you got here. Look at all of the things that you have that you're standing on to say that yes, you do belong here. But a lot of it is the low self-esteem, right? There's a lot of like the self-doubt, just the feeling of inadequacy, or feelings of failure that we've never dealt with. And I think it's
Yeah.
important because a lot of this stems from past emotions or feelings that have not been dealt with. And so I think it's important for women to understand that dealing with these inner feelings, we just kind of brush it to the side, and we put it in a box and think, okay, we're out, and we go out into the world and we're doing all these great amazing things, but inside we're still that broken girl. We're still
Yeah.
dealing with issues of confidence. We're still dealing with issues of low self-esteem. We're still dealing with the person that called us a bad name in high school. Like, we never got over, we never sat down and dealt with that enough. Sometimes you sit in it. We never had time to sit in it. We put it in a box and we threw it to the side and thinking we never have to deal with that again. And that's not how it works. You have to deal with things. And I think
Yeah.
another big component of how the imposter syndrome comes about, is because it's past, it's things that we threw in the box and thought we never had to pick back up.
Yeah, I think you said a lot there. Again, going back to it being an inside job and being in touch about what drives you, what beliefs you are deciding to believe, right? A belief is just a thought that we think over and over again. So we can interrupt these beliefs, right? And so if your belief, because, you know, somebody in high school said this thing to you, or a professor said something to you in college, or something else, these things that, we might be carrying with us, like at some point we need to interrupt that. We need to say, what really should I be believing about myself? And really, what do I want to be true about myself? And start defining that stuff for ourselves. And also looking at the things that we've done and letting that fuel our confidence. Because when you do things well, or at least start, there's always some lesson. There's always some winning. There's always a skill being built that's not just attached to the outcome. But if you try to launch something, even if it didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to go, there you learn how to load a website. You learn how to work a Zoom. You didn't learn how to do a streamer. There are some learnings there that makes you accomplish. Like, sometimes we only classify something a win if it's the ultimate thing. But what if we decided that our forward progress was winning? And then how, if we reframe that,
Absolutely.
how was that
Absolutely.
build to our confidence?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can definitely agree with that, because even me doing this StreamYard right now, I am not a technical person. So so there's a lot of things, and there's a learning curve. So I think all the audience for being patient with me, and as you're on this journey with me, I'm growing and I'm learning just like the next person. And so, but I think the conversation is important to be had. And so I'm passionate about helping people reach that level of confidence when they can go out and they can play full out in the world, and that's what I'm about. And I was doing that for the young girls in my nonprofit organization, and then I realized women are still dealing with a lot of that, and then it's like this vicious cycle. They pass it on to their daughters. And so that's why I'm like, it's time for us to talk about it. Like, let's talk about all these different issues that we're dealing with, but nobody wants to like say it out loud. We internalize it and we just put it in this little box, and nobody wants to to air it out, so that we can get true healing and true understanding from a lot of the pressures that we're dealing with.
Yeah. And it's a big deal that you would see that you would start doing it in a nonprofit and then see that after you're dealing with the young girls, you see that, oh, there are grown adult women. We're still playing and living out like our young girl selves. And that's the truth of the
Yeah.
matter, right? And so again, interrupting, being able to say, hey, as adult Kimberly, how do I want to think about this? How do I want to approach this? Right. And so this confidence tea is an amazing opportunity to have those conversations and to reach people. And so I really want to applaud you for even taking those steps, seeing that need and offering something to support women.
Yeah, and let me tell you, initially I was like, my calling is, youth. Any anybody who knows me knows I'm so passionate about, helping young girls win mentally, physically, and emotionally, like helping them win like the battle of confidence as they journey through adolescence. Like that is like my true passion. And, but when I kept coming across more and more moms, and I kept seeing a trend. If I talked to the daughter and they were dealing with a certain issue, then I talked to the mom and I'm like, Mom, this is, and it was like this cycle that nobody ever talked about. Mom never talked about how this happened or that happened. And then it was a repetition. So now the daughter has to deal with it. And, and if we don't stop it, if we don't help her, her daughter is going to have to deal with it. And so I thought, you know what, let's talk about it. Let's have these conversations. And so I'm so excited. I don't know what confidence tea will turn into, but I welcome, I welcome it all.
Yeah, as you should. And being open to it being as big and as grand and as different as it may evolve to be, right? And so I appreciate
Absolutely. Yeah,
that.
I definitely, just thinking about it, like sometimes people are like, how in the world did you? And I'm like, honestly, well, what had happened was it's one of those types of scenarios, not really something that I was, like I'm going to go out and do this, but it was just something that kind of fell into my lap. An opportunity
Yeah.
presented itself. And being the passionate individual that I am about the topic of confidence, I thought, you know what? Let's talk about it. Why not talk about it? Whether it's 2 people that tune in or 5 people tune in or millions of people tune in, let's talk about it. Let's have the conversation. And so that's
Right.
why I'm so excited all the time. I'm like always on high to talk about, how we can have these conversations. Somebody posted in the chat. I want to make sure we give our audience time. Somebody say, yes, thank you so much for calling this out. Yes, thank you. Yes, that is so true. Another college reunion said, preach. The external validation is nice, but not necessary. We have to validate ourselves internally. Yes, I so agree with that. The like it's nice for people to say, "Oh my god, you did a good job. Oh my god, great job, Gigi." But until I say, "Man, I did a great job," it means absolutely nothing. A thousand people can applaud me, but if I don't believe that myself internally, it all the thousand applauds mean absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I think that's something people have to come to grips with is like be your first there's a chapter in one of my books that I talk about be your first compliment. I talk about being your first compliment.
Mm.
Before I walk out the door, I'm going to tell myself that I look nice, because when somebody else says it, it doesn't come as a shock to me. I gave myself that love. I gave myself that compliment. And so it's so important that we are first,
Yeah. And again, inside job, right? Inside job. I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm always saying I'm never gonna have a conversation where I don't say something about it being an inside job, because it really is. And it's not that you have to be an island. It's just that you with you all the time. You're gonna believe you over everybody
Mhm.
else. So if you telling yourself you're not good enough, you're gonna believe that over 1,000 people. You are a strong voice.
Mhm.
You're your biggest influencer. While you looking for influencers, you are your biggest influencer, because there are people out here that can say they can do things, and they'll go out and do it. And you'll be like, now, how did they decide to do some of the biggest things that we enjoy? Are people who took courageous steps, right? Even if they wasn't sure how it was going to go and what it was going to do. And that's how we want to be with ourselves. I talk about being our own safest place. That's a part of it, because our own safest place says, oh, you got this. And what you don't got, you'll go get. You will learn it. You will connect with the right people. And if you happen to be a woman of faith, then you'll be like, God will provide, right? If I'm going to take this
Mhm.
one step, he'll take 25. So I just got to take the one. I got to take
Yeah,
the one,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's,
so
it's important.
yeah, it's very, very important. And I mean, it's like, and so let's kind of talk
Yeah.
about like what,
Yeah.
like to someone that's listening, Kim, like how do they combat that? Like what is like a practical thing that they can do to help them get over imposter syndrome? Like what is something, like what are some just basic tips of, something that they can do to say, you know what, I'm dealing with imposter syndrome. I really don't know how to, deal with this thing. I haven't told anybody, but I feel like I am a fraud. Like I feel like I am
Yeah.
just faking it. I am, nobody knows, to the world, to social media. It looks really good. It looks like I'm living my best life, but I'm faking it.
Yeah.
What do we tell that person? Like, how do we help that person with some actionable, practical tips?
Yeah, I think I would start first with doing an assessment of where these feelings might be coming from, right? Why do you feel this way? And then questioning it, because again, the thought comes in, I'm a fraud, and we just say, yes, I'm a fraud. No, no, no. The thought comes in, we get to challenge the thought. For some reason,
Yeah.
people think because they thought it, they got to accept it and own it and make it true. No, no, no. The thought came in that I'm a fake. And if you could take that thought and say, why am I thinking that about
Hmm.
myself?
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
really true? Do I have evidence to suggest that this isn't true? And then you have evidence. So then you take the extra step of saying, well, I did this. I accomplished this. I went out for this. And even though it didn't become what I thought it was, I learned this, that, one, two, three, four, X, Y, Z. And really taking account and being thoughtful about our experiences, our wins. Again, not just thinking about the ultimate win. If the ultimate win is to launch a business and get off your day job, there's 100 wins along the way. And so when we're celebrating a win along the way, that builds our confidence before our business even gets to the place where we can get off our 9 to 5, right? And so the other thing I'm saying is, so think about the thought, challenge the thought, collect evidence of your experiences, of your wins, big and small, and celebrate them equally, right? Celebrate your wins equally. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I learned this
Yeah.
thing. Oh, this didn't work out, but this happened. Oh my goodness, right? So keep account of that. And then
Mm.
really making sure that you have people in your life that are also, so having a good team around you, right? Who are the people that you're in community with, who are rooting for you, who go remind you who you are, right? So not everybody needs, but so again, this is not about getting external validation, but it is about, we are communal people. And so if you don't
Mm.
have people in your life that continue to pour into you, to root and cheerlead you, that's something worth working on. That's
Yes,
something worth
absolutely.
working on, is saying, oh, you know what? I don't have people in my life that I share my wins with, that recognize me. And when I have these moments of doubt, I don't have anybody I can pick up the phone and they say, oh, no, you got this because blah, 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 blah. And because I believe in you and because I'm about to do this thing for you right now, right? If you don't have those kind of cheerleaders, those advocates, you could continue to struggle, right? Because even though it's an inside job, the next part about the inside job is making sure we're surrounding our people that can support this
Mhm.
confident version of ourselves, right? As we continue to grow in our confidence. And then, yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'll stop there because I think you want to jump in. Come on, come on.
I'm just like, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, having, like what you said, just to piggyback on what you said,
Mhm.
having that community around you to remind you. Because sometimes, like, whenever I feel like unaccomplished, a lot of times it's my friends that's like, girl, what are you saying? Like, you have, it's like, oh, yeah, I have done that. So having those people around you that remind you, and just celebrating those small wins, no matter how small. I think I know Lisa Nichols, she talks about, celebrating those micro wins. And I'm like that.
Right.
I'm such a big proponent of that, because I feel like, yes, like celebrate those. And I think to sum it all up is to be compassionate with ourselves, like
Yes.
grant ourselves some compassion. A lot of times we set these high goals and we set these high expectations for ourselves that sometimes are not necessarily realistic. And it's like we have to have self-compassion and to treat ourselves with the same kindness that we would treat a friend. And remember that we're not
Right.
perfect. We will make mistakes. We will, stumble along the road. But if we just, if we're real about it and we practice self-compassion, then I
Yeah.
think we can really like battle that imposter syndrome and really deal with it head on, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That
yeah.
we keep coming back to that inside job, that your own safest place, because when you're your own safest place, you have to give yourself grace. When you your own safest place, when you get the idea, you don't just shoot it down right away. When you your own safest place, when you make a mistake, you're not berating yourself, judging yourself, dragging yourself down the street, put yourself in the trash can, right? You're saying, okay, this didn't turn out the way we wanted. What was the lessons? What can we do different next time? I'm looking forward to the next time. Like, we can even encourage ourselves, right? So when we do that for ourselves, and we've said this before, but I think it's worth repeating, then it helps us have that community. Because when I do this for myself, then the people I let in my inner circle got to do that for me. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you treat yourself bad and poorly, and that's lived space. It feels familiar when someone outside of us treats us that way, when they speak to us that
That's
way,
true.
when they say nasty
Mm-hmm.
things all the time, when it's full on frenemies. I don't want no frenemies.
I don't either. I'm
I
good.
don't want no
I'm
frenemies.
bad all by myself.
Right. I don't want any frenemies. But again, how we treat ourselves, and it's a process, but it's a process worth taking, a journey worth taking. You are never going to regret pouring into yourself, loving yourself, esteeming yourself, being compassionate, being that person to yourself every day is worth the effort. And it's going to take some of us a lot of time to interrupt these patterns of how
Yeah.
we treated ourselves, how we looked at ourselves, how we talk about ourselves. Some of
Mhm.
this is going to be a lot of habit breaking, but I encourage and implore everybody to take that journey to break those habits, to limit those beliefs about ourselves that don't serve us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In summary, I truly believe that imposter syndrome is tough. It is something that as women we probably have all dealt with in some way, shape, or form. And but I don't believe that it's insurmountable. I don't believe that we cannot overcome syndrome. I think by acknowledging it and by taking just, some proactive steps to reclaim our confidence and to remind ourselves that we are worth it. And
Yeah.
really to understand that confidence is a journey. It's not a destination. You never fully arrive. You're always going through the process. You reach this level and you're back. Today I feel wonderful and I'm on top of the world, and tomorrow I feel like the world is on top of me. And sometimes that is the journey of confidence. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I encourage you all to really, I hope that this information was good. I hope that you found a tidbit of something in what we were saying tonight. Kim, I want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know where they can reach you, where they can follow you, how they can connect with you. So I'll just let you kind of tell the people how to connect with you.
Yes, I would love if people join me on IG. I'm starting my IG journey. I'm like 20 days in, so follow me at Together Ascend. And then the other thing that I want to highlight is a group accountability circle that I'm offering. The group accountability circle sessions start October 15th, so there's still time to get in. And this is the opportunity for you to get clarity and vision around something you want to accomplish, but do it in a community that's going to support you and cheerlead you so that 2025 can be an amazing year for you.
Okay, I'm trying to write this in so that people together ascend. Got it. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you,
love
Gigi,
that.
for having me.
Thank you so much. It has definitely been a pleasure for having you. I am just so happy that we got to meet over. I'm meeting so many wonderful people just by, taking this journey and, starting this podcast over. And so I thank you. I hope that you have found this last few minutes with us to give you some insight on imposter syndrome and how to reclaim your confidence back. Until next time, I want you to remember that you are capable, You are enough and you deserve to shine. Thank you guys so much and have a wonderful night.